The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Glory to you, O Lord. As Jesus came down from the mountain with Peter, James, John, and approached the other disciples, they saw a large crowd around them and scribes arguing with them. Immediately on seeing him, the whole crowd was utterly amazed. They ran up to him and greeted him. He asked them, "What are you arguing about with them?" Someone from the crowd answered him, "Teacher, I have brought to you my son, possessed by a mute spirit. Wherever it seizes him, it throws him down. He foams at the mouth, grinds his teeth, and becomes rigid. I asked your disciples to drive it out, but they were unable to do so." He said to them in reply, "O faithless generation, how long will I be with you? How long will I endure you? Bring him to me." They brought the boy to him, and when he saw him, the spirit immediately threw the boy into convulsions. As he fell to the ground, he began to roll around and foam at the mouth. Then he questioned his father, "How long has this been happening to him?" He replied, "Since childhood. It has often thrown him into fire and into water to kill him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us." Jesus said to him, "If you can, everything is possible to one who has faith." Then the boy's father cried out, "I do believe. Help my unbelief." Jesus, on seeing a crowd rapidly gathering, rebuked the unclean spirit and said to it, "Mute and deaf spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." Shouting and throwing the boy into convulsions, it came out. He became like a corpse, which caused many to say, "He is dead." But Jesus took him by the hand, raised him, and he stood up. When he entered the house, the disciples asked him in private, "Why could we not drive the spirit out?" He said to them, "This kind can only come out through prayer." The Gospel of the Lord. And that is a serious episode there. That's, get your Monday going nice and strong here. Do you know? Wow. Yeah, I don't know. This is powerful for any number of reasons, yeah? It's, I don't know. I want to look at the end. Okay, fine. We'll look at the end. Jesus took him by the hand. This is after he works this exorcism. Took him by the hand, raised him, and he stood up. Both of those words in the Greek are resurrection words. Yeah, anastasis, this kind of being raised, arising, raised him. So this should give us some sense of what's going on in the passage. Yeah, we just had the transfiguration immediately before this. That's why he's coming down into that place with Peter, James, and John. But here we see resurrection power on display. And I don't know, is it messier than we would imagine? Is it messier than we would otherwise imagine? That's not a nice story. I don't think it is anyway. Ron disagree. You like the way it ends, I know, but yeah, it's not a nice story. It's a heavy burden story. Do you know there's a lot of darkness in the story? A lot of it, right? Because there's a struggle, and the struggle, even though the disciples have been casting out demons to this point, and by the way, probably praying, they're doing that to this point. Now seems different. They can't do it. They can't do it, and that's a challenge. And think of the boy's father comes to Jesus, and Jesus is right. He's at the ready. Because why is he at the ready? Because that's who he is. He's just lavish, generous love. So that's who he is. He's on the scene, and the father says, if you can do something about it, if you can. And then Jesus' comment about a lack of faith. Still, he has the man musters faith to be able to entrust his son to Jesus and have that healing work performed. But wow, yeah, everything is possible to one who has faith. How he's chastised. Yeah, and the man knows the compassion. He encounters it in Jesus, but it's faith that saves. Why is it that way? Because it's faith that has us aligned with God. It's faith that has us tap into God's power. And this is why we just need a little bit of faith, because a little bit of faith is like a little bit of a tapping into God's tremendous power, and then we could be overwhelmed by the power of God. But it's faith that has us tap into his power and has us aligned with him. And this is why Jesus, in his commentary, is to say, this is a faithless generation. How long will I be with you? So he's realizing the challenge. He's grappling with the darkness and the struggle, and he's pushing in. Now, what he realizes how tall the order is, right? He realizes just how much work there is to be done, and he's calling the people to it. And in the power of the resurrection, he's going to see the project through to the end. See, this is right after the transfiguration, we see the revelation of Jesus as Messiah, and then moving on from there, what that looks like. I mean, the disciples are turning the corner themselves, but here we realize that as the story itself turns the corner, it gets more difficult. Yeah. So, and this is then I think the challenge and the consolation of the passage for us today as well, is that as we continue on with our Christian journey, as we turn more and more surely to the cross, as we look on Jesus and see that this life of great love that we've been called to might well cost us more than we imagine, right? Like, as we set our face to the cross with Jesus, we should expect things to become more difficult. As we go in our Christian journey, we should expect things to become more difficult. I think all too often we expect things to become more easy. Just in the same way, like here, this only comes out by prayer. It's like, we've been praying. We've already been praying. What are you talking about? No, this comes out by prayer. The kind of intensity of prayer that we see in Jesus' own life, that he's calling us into. And what is it? It's a renewed attention and energy and dedication to God. Right? It's a focus. It's bringing our lives into alignment and so on. Like, it's more and more. It's not done. It's not a done deal. For any of you, it's not a done deal. It's going to get harder. Right? It's like God. We can say God's done most of the work, right? He's at 90%. And what about that next 1%? It's a good bit harder than the previous 90. I remember complaining to my spiritual director once. Yeah, I'm in the confession mood these days, I guess. Just throw it out there for you. But I remember complaining to my spiritual director once. I said, like, I'm giving 99%. I don't understand. And he smiled, and I said, this is not good, This is not good. It's like, it's 100%. But that one, we can get to 99%, right? And then think that's enough, and turn around and be in a worse position than the person who's giving 1% and eager to give the next. Does that sound tough? It doesn't matter how, it doesn't matter, because, again, we can't do this of our own. We wouldn't do it of our own accord. But God is making it so in us. And this is Jesus, right? The reason why this exhortation comes is because Jesus is living it. And he's inviting us to share in his life, right? We feed on his body and blood so that we can live that way as well. And that way, as we see in the scriptures, is, it's total dedication of self. It's to God in prayer. It's total focus, total attention, everything we've got, everything we are, given over to God. And then pouring ourselves out totally in his service. We can't do that of our own strength. But Jesus has done that, and Jesus gives himself to us so that we can follow him on that way.